Legendary investor David Rubenstein breaks down the 2022 disaster of Tesla stock and Twitter. Rubenstein is a multi-billionaire and his firm manages $369 billion. So let's hear what he has to say.
Right now, do you think this whole situation with Elon buying Twitter, are you guys optimistic about what's going to happen with the Twitter valuation? Are you kind of like, yeah, it's not something we're interested in? How are you viewing what Elon's doing with Twitter?
I'm not an investor in the company, so I can give you that perspective without being an investor.
In one way, that is good because then you can have a more unbiased opinion of something. On the other hand, why not put money in Twitter? Well, I understand why you wouldn't want to put money in Twitter because that's just so risky. But Tesla sounds pretty good to me. Look at the earnings.
I think he paid a high price. In other words, what happened is he bought the company agreed to buy the company, and the tech transition occurred and the tech valuations went down. So he paid probably 25% more than the company was really worth. And he knew that. But he thought he could turn around because he's an engineering marvel and so forth.
Also, we have to take into consideration what is the value of saving the world. Elon Musk believes he is saving the world basically by acquiring Twitter and reforming it. There has to be some sort of amount of money that someone would be willing to pay to basically, in Elon's own words, almost, to save the world, to save a society. So overpaying is not really a big deal here, especially I believe Elon thinks he can 3x, 4x, 5x, even 10x, and perhaps more of the valuation of Twitter eventually. One day, I personally expect Twitter to eventually be $1 billion company, but by then it will also probably have a different name. It will be called X, the Everything app.
He then made some changes, and now as CEO, that have really taken away a lot of the customers, a lot of the advertisers.
All temporary, however, eventually, because the number of users is going to be increasing, and these users will be spending more time on Twitter because Twitter is just going to be so much more better. And already, if you have Twitter Blue subscription, you can add long-form videos on Twitter already. And I believe they are going to make that part of Twitter much more better. So instead of going to YouTube, you might now want to go to Twitter instead. I generated millions of dollars running ads on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. The ad platform was so bad that it didn't make much sense to go there at all. Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube also, especially. These platforms are really good for advertisers. You can clearly see your ROI. You can target people very well. On Twitter, it's just a disaster. It's not so much that the advertisers need to come back to Twitter. It's more so that Elon needs to fix the advertising platform so that small businesses can also advertise very easily. And also, once you add video content to Twitter, if you are selling, let's say, an insurance product and you put an ad on an insurance-based video, you know you will have very targeted prospects. But on Twitter right now, it's very difficult to do. You just get everyone and you just end up overpaying. That is if we oversimplify everything. YouTube, Facebook, just these ad platforms are just so much more better.
Yeah.
I think the company cannot service its debt normally. It takes about $1 billion a year to service the debt of the debt that he borrowed. He borrowed about, I think, $11 billion. It takes about $1 billion a year to service that debt. They're not earning $1 billion a year.
Elon joined one of the Twitter spaces, and he said that the cash burn for Twitter is about $3 billion per year. Ouch. But Elon also said that he expects, hopefully next year, that Twitter will be breaking even, which would be fantastic for Tesla stock.
So what's going to happen? He'll either have to subsidize it and pay it out of his own proceeds. He could take the company bankrupt. The problem with taking the company bankrupt is this. In the end, the senior debt will own the company. So he will have lost a lot of money.
The $11 billion.
Yes, 11 billion would own the company, but remember, he could go buy that 11 billion at a discount. The banks are carrying that debt at about 80 cents on a dollar. He could probably buy it at 70 cents on a dollar.
Got it.
So he buys the debt, he then owns the company. He could bankrupt the company, he then owns the company because all the equity is wiped out. Of course, his friends are in the equity, and he's in the equity. So it's a big loss either way. There's no easy way out of this, in my view, other than kind of getting the revenue back up again. It's a tough slog.
Twitter is in a very tough and terrible spot. Like Elon said earlier, Twitter is on the fast lane to bankruptcy. It has been so since May. And Elon is having a very difficult time finding a CEO because no one is foolish enough to take the job. I mean, if you want never-ending personal attacks on you and your family and everyone who you love, and stories just being made up, if you don't mind that about you, then maybe Twitter CEO job is the right fit for you.
And I don't envy him trying to run this company. Remember, he's also running two other companies.
That's right. That's right.
It's tough to run one company at a time. He's running two other big companies, and both of those are pretty successful.
I think he can do it. He has been running two gigantic companies for a long time and a few smaller ones at the same time. Don't you think that during all this time, more than a decade, that he has been doing this, that he has gotten smarter and wiser and more experienced? And also during this time, he has built teams that he trusts that are really good. Don't you think he could add another company on top of all of this? I think Elon will do just fine running three gigantic companies at the same time. But the market wants to see results. The markets do not trust Elon to do this successfully. And I believe the markets are going to be proven wrong.
What's happened is the market cap of Tesla was probably at its peak $1.1 trillion. And that made him the richest man in the world because he was the biggest shareholder of it. Today, I think the market cap is maybe closer to $500 billion, so it's lost about half its value. Why? Well, one thing is that he sold a number of his shares in order to buy Twitter. So whenever you sell shares, it depresses the price. And now people think that he's not focused on it, and therefore he's not the genius behind Tesla. And a lot of people are selling. So it's lost. He's lost half of the value of the company, and that's why some of the shareholders aren't happy.
So you think the idea of bringing in Tim Cook is a good idea, like what he's suggesting?
Well, I think somebody needs to be running the company.
I believe Elon Musk is running Tesla just fine. However, shareholders would benefit from knowing who is the number 2 person at Tesla. Who is the chief operating officer? Who is taking of all of the day-to-day operations when Elon cannot be at Tesla, then it's some sort of time-sensitive matter, which maybe is easy, a decision would be easy to make, but if Elon is not available in that moment, maybe that's not great. So who is the number 2 person is what we want to know. Is it Tom Zhu, the guy who came from China, who's now helping at Austin to scale up the factory? Is it him? Is it someone else? That would be really good to know.
Whether Elon Musk is willing to give up running the company, I don't know. I'm not involved in it, but I'd say that somebody should be running the company, and somebody should be running SpaceX too. It's hard to run one company once at a time.
How do you do that?
How do you run three companies at once?
Billion-dollar companies simultaneously.
Right. Well, he put a lot of his personal fortune into Twitter. He wants to turn it around. He realizes now it's tougher to turn around than he thought. So right now the company's in somewhat disarray. But he's done a really good job of building these companies before. Maybe with enough time, he can make Twitter turn around. Take some time.
SpaceX has a COO, Chief Operating Officer, Gwynne Shotwell, and she's doing a phenomenal job. I heard Ross Gerber said that NASA pressured SpaceX into answering who is running SpaceX. Elon is away doing, involved in his Twitter shenanigans. Who is running SpaceX? And Gwynne Shotwell answered, I am running SpaceX. That's what I heard from Ross Gerber. It would be really nice to have someone like that for Tesla as well. I don't want Elon to leave. Definitely not. Not at all. Elon, please stay. But show us who is the number 2 person, or perhaps even the number 3 person. Who do you want to be the number 2 person at Tesla? And these are 48 reasons why I only own Tesla stock in my stock portfolio. My name is Matt Post. Just like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.